As an incredibly long-standing and venerated franchise, Dragon Ball obviously has a lot of video games, but what I find interesting is the vastly differing level of quality between all of these titles. Dragon Ball has busted out some of the best fighting games, defined the arena brawler genre with the Budokai Tenkaichi series, and also has some really solid RPGs too. You ever played Attack of the Saiyans? It's actually pretty good. But on the other side of the coin, Dragon Ball has also put out some of the worst fighting games, arena brawlers, and well, some odd titles here and there that seem to be trying to trend hot more than anything. Is Breakers any good? I always thought that was such a strange one. Today, instead of doing something conducive to my mental health, we'll be playing one of the bad Dragon Ball games. Possibly the most infamous amongst them, even. Specifically, we'll be playing the 2005 title, Dragon Ball Z Sagas. Dragon Ball Z Sagas is an action-adventure beat-em-up that was very notably released onto not just the PlayStation 2 and GameCube, like most Dragon Ball Z games at the time, but it also managed to actually hit the Xbox as well. I must sadly report, though, that this was the only Dragon Ball game that Xbox owners ever received. So yeah, none of the good stuff from that gen ever hit Microsoft's big black box. This one hitting the Xbox makes sense though, since Sagas was actually developed by an American company versus a Japanese one as per usual. Sagas was developed by Avalanche Software. Yes, you heard that right, viewers. The company that made this game would later go on to make Hogwarts Legacy. When you first boot the game's story mode, you're actually hit with a totally new animated sequence that recaps the events of Dragon Ball on top of leading into the stuff that will be happening in this game. Honestly, it's nice to see some Dragon Ball stuff again. I feel like that original series just gets kind of lost in the weeds of the franchise these days, even though it is fantastic. I will note here, though, is that things just look kind of a little off-model as opposed to your normal Dragon Ball Z animation. I mean, just look at Raditz and Vegeta here. Doing a bit of digging, I found out the animation supervisor for this one, Masahiro Shimanuki, while he did have experience working on Dragon Ball pretty extensively, he had actually been working on One Piece for quite some time instead. That's why things look a little bit One Piece-y, you know? Strangely, though, this is the only bit of original animation done for this game. Everything else, cutscene-wise, is lifted right from the anime. After that, though, you get to begin your first saga, the Saiyan Saga. Basically the only starting point for Dragon Ball stories anymore. Credit I can give the Sagas is that the campaign is 100% playable cooperatively, so if you have a friend, they too can suffer right alongside you, if you feel like losing a friend. You are locked to specific characters for this whole campaign though, which makes sense obviously, but basically that means get ready to really only play Goku, Gohan, and Vegeta basically the whole game, with some Trunks too. I kinda wish I had a choice, at least, Let me play Goku or Piccolo for this first saga. So of course we're off to fight Raditz, but first, a chronologically incorrect army of Cybermen stand in your way. They need to die first, of course, and this is basically the crux of Dragon Ball Z Sagas. You start the level, you run around a bit, and you're attacked by the rank and file of that level. To defend yourself, you have 3 basic attacks: a kick, a punch, and a little chi blast that helps you with ranged threats. So you run at these Cybermen, you start flailing violently at them, whilst they also violently flail back at you. Along the level's incredibly linear paths, you'll be picking up Z coins, which are used to unlock your more advanced moves and combos. With your first few Z coins, you're required to buy your big energy attack, which for Goku is, of course, the Kamehameha, which is kind of fucking stupid when you think about it for 2 seconds. I'm learning the Kamehameha here and now. This is adult Goku at the start of Dragon Ball Z, He's been able to do the Kamehameha since he was a literal child. I probably shouldn't be splitting hairs like this, especially considering we're already fighting Cybermen, and those don't even show up till Nappa and Vegeta arrive. Not to mention that I'm handily defeating these Cybermen who, by show lore itself, have the same power level as the boss I'm going to fight right now. So I feel like no shenanigans would be needed to defeat Raditz at all in this game, but I digress. You learn your big energy attack, and the first thing you do with it is blow up some rocks. At the least, that opens up the area to the game's first boss and every fanfiction writer's favorite character in Raditz. Ah, power level 1200. How quaint it was back then. You fight Raditz here in the open, and god, this is where the game really starts falling apart. The combat in this game is extremely bad, which is a real problem in a game that is 100% centered around it. Your character handles like a drunken ape, movement being so sloppy and with a very strange momentum to it as you're cruising around the levels. When you're fighting bosses, your attacks hit like wet noodles. Even when using your full combos or your big power energy attack, you're hitting for scratch damage most of the time. Bosses, however, will hit you like a dump truck, meaning if you screw up at all, you are getting massively chunked and potentially even killed. You do not want to die in this game, because if you do, it is right back to the start of the level. No checkpoints anywhere. Fight every Cyberman again, and fight Raditz at the end. Bosses also have unlimited chi pools, and they will spam the absolute crap out of their projectile attacks as a result. So I hope you like 50 Gallic guns going right up your asshole every boss fight. Blocking will thankfully negate a majority of the damage, but you can't win by just blocking, so you need to go fight. So you bonsai charge at your foe and you start attacking. In combat, it's best to just free-form attack, since while this game does feature a lock-on function, it's only useful to aim your Kamehamehas and such. If you use your lock-on normally, you'll find that you cannot move regularly. You're just standing there. It turns out, in this mode, you can only do this awkward little dash, which is so delayed coming out, it's not worth using as an offensive or defensive move at all. Something I also noticed about the lock-on is if you're attacking while you're locked on, you're constantly pushing your target just out of range of your melee strikes, which is an issue for one main reason. The easiest way to defeat every boss in this game is just by fucking mashing random buttons, never actually finishing any combos. Just slapping your dick on the controller, punch and kick randomly, and you win. It's not a fast method by any means, but it is the most effective. You will be able to grind down every boss in Sagas, from Raditz all the way to Cell. You will be able to fell all the most notorious Dragon Ball Z villains via death by 1,000 cuts. Throw in a Kamehameha or whatever every once in a while, but just do that mostly. This is actually kind of a contrast to your basic enemies, who I feel like a majority of the time should just die in one punch. I mean, a basic Frieza Force soldier should get blasted out of existence if Vegeta rips ass in their vicinity. He decapitated Goldo with a chop, for fuck's sake. I don't think one of these idiots that shoot a gun should be able to take any combos from him. Something interesting about your basic Cybermen, though, is there's actually a huge variety of them in this game. Basic green, little orange, purple that keeps summoning more of them, and these big brick shithouse Cybermen who kind of annoying to fight, not gonna lie. Each of the basic grunts in the various sagas have this many different types too, but all basically function the same as that original set of Cybermen. So I mean, props for enemy diversity, I guess. Getting back on track, I kill Raditz, beat Nappa, beat down Vegeta to clear through the Saiyan saga. No great ape Vegeta fight or anything, just normal-ass Vegeta. Most missions in Dragon Ball Z sagas will follow that pretty simple formula: spawn in, beat up the grunts, and then fight the boss, but the game does try to shake things up a little bit with a few different mission types. There's an escort mission on Namek with Dende, wherein he will fly right into enemy crossfire. There's also a protection mission during the Android saga, where these unfinished androids will attack capsule core buildings. I can't say any actually attacked those buildings, or if them getting destroyed is an actual lose condition, because they just kind of attacked me the second I showed up. At least that made it easy, you know. We thusly move into Ginyu and Frieza sagas. So now let's talk a bit more about the RPG elements, I guess you could call them. One thing first, though. I find it really odd that the shop screen is dead silent. The main menu had some pretty simple backing music, so why not use it again here? Or any of those iconic Dragon Ball tracks. Littered throughout all the maps are red and yellow capsules, which will give you some health and some chi when picked up. Pick up enough of these capsules and your total health and chi will increase. You can also stumble across sensu beans, which are basically a 1-up in this game. You die, you consume one to instantly resurrect yourself. You will also be picking up the Z coins, of course, which is the currency to purchase new combos, abilities, and other upgrades for your characters. Thankfully, all of these pickups and upgrades transfer between every character in the game, so you don't really have to worry about grinding out one specific character or anything. Which I guess isn't too surprising, since every character in this game is exactly the same. From Goku, to Vegeta, to Gohan, to Piccolo, all exactly the same combos and abilities. Only thing different between them being the name of their big chi attack, which you'll be hearing your given fighter shout these attacks a lot. Mainly because you will get so fucking frustrated trying to mash out combos while getting gang fucked in a 3v1 melee with 2 ranged enemies also blasting you too. You just figure out that it's way better to start saturation bombing the area. Even though for some ungodly reason, the basic grunts can actually block your big energy attacks. Yeah, I believe a basic Frieza Force soldier can block a fucking Gallic gun. Regardless though, the saturation bombing is still incredibly effective, since grunts always cluster up as they run at you, and even if the one you're targeting blocks your attack, it slags all the surrounding grunts in the AoE. This is the best way to get through the linear areas of the game, especially after you grab the Turbo Chi Charge in the store. Which, let's talk about the various upgrades available to you in Dragon Ball Z Sagas. Allow me to give you the short list of things that are actually worth purchasing. Turbo Chi Charge, for reasons I just discussed in the last minute of this video. Flight speed. This is because of a really fucking stupid design decision. Throughout the levels, you'll see collectibles that are too high up to grab. The only way to get these is to find a spot later on in the level that's high enough, leap from it, and then fly all the way back to the collectible. That's so stupid. Why can't you just fly up and down like normal? That's how flight in this world works. To go off on a bad game design rant, another terrible one in this game is that the boss areas also have collectibles in them, meaning that any boss fight you will immediately start by running around like a little spastic, blasting random scenery, desperately attempting to grab these power-ups, all while avoiding the AI attempting to blast you out of existence with powerful energy attacks. It's awful. It's just awful. One I also need to talk about, even though it did not affect me personally, since I played alone. In later boss fights, instead of being able to go 2v1 like you can in the Raditz and Nappa fights, control will instead be given only to one player while a timer starts. After a certain amount of time passes, control will switch from player 1 to player 2. You play in turn like this for the whole fight, and it's just fucking stupid. Why the hell is it like this? Just throw the second player in as a different character or something. Even if it's a battle that really can only have one person there, like Goku versus Frieza. Just say Goku was using Afterimage to create a copy of himself or something. Don't do whatever the hell this is. You know, I saw a tweet recently that said bad game design doesn't actually exist and it's just a made-up term created by gaming YouTubers to justify petulant whining. Play this game and then shut the fuck up forever. Fuck, I just remember I started this by talking about the game's upgrades, and I've gotten super off track. Okay, good upgrades. Combo Breaker. That one's great because if the AI starts wailing on you, and they will do an assload of damage that they do, so it's great to just be able to break out of it to save yourself. Chi Sense is an okay upgrade as well, since it'll let you find the pickups on your radar, and so you don't have to waste additional time blowing stuff up. That's good for upgrades, obviously. I'll be honest though, I didn't waste any Z coins on any of these attacks here, so maybe they're good? Probably not though. I did buy the Grab, but I found out after using it that the Grab does 0 damage, making it totally worthless. There's no point in unblockable finishers, since not finishing a combo is the best strategy in the game. The more advanced combos are pointless as well, for the same reason, on top of another one. In the later sagas of the game, you're just tossed randomly into these weird training segments in the hyperbolic time chamber where you need to complete a certain amount of combos before your opponent does. Buying more advanced combos actually makes this way more difficult than it needs to be. Even more so since properly executing these combos is a fucking nightmare. The button presses are so sensitive, I was somehow hitting wrong combos all the time. I really had to slow down to properly do these things. Versus the AI who will always just flawlessly execute the combo and get a point. So just don't buy any combos, so every combo is just PPP or KKK. Now, since I kind of glossed over it so far, it's time to say that this game is incredibly buggy too. I mentioned earlier my grabs never did any actual damage. I have to assume that's a bug. Bosses will just blast the crap out of you with these huge energy blasts, and they just do no damage for some reason. One time I was fighting Frieza's second form, and he hit me so hard I turned invisible for the rest of the fight. It goes on, honestly, but everyone's bug-related experience of this game are unique, I imagine. Getting back to story-related things, you get to play all the way through the Cell Saga. I'm not going to explain all of the plots of these various stories because presumably, if you're watching one of my videos, you're most likely male, any color, aged 18 to 38, meaning you've watched Dragon Ball, or you're just a Dragon Ball fan that's stumbled across this video. Either way, you know what happens here, I don't need to tell you. This game does add one original saga though, the Yardat Saga, which is a one-mission fight where you battle against an original character named Soba. Otherwise, it's all the same. I want to take a moment to talk about the very final fight, though, which is Gohan against Cell. To try to emulate the anime, you obviously grind Cell down to nothing with melee attacks. Oh, forgot to mention, you can't actually unlock Super Saiyan transformations in this game, for Goku, Vegeta, Trunks, and Gohan. Hell, even Piccolo has one too. Which is good, of course, but every boss fight later on requires you to be in this form to do any damage whatsoever. In your base form, you do nothing and you just have to survive until this bar fills up, which you fill up by attacking the boss that is much more powerful than you. Then you can fill your chi meter up and transform. After that, the clock starts ticking because your Super Saiyan bar slowly drains. If it runs out, you have to get all of your power back all over again. Thankfully, that's not too much of a problem because you actually shit damage in these forms. Grind Cell down to X amount of health and the game immediately cuts to scenes from the anime, only to dump you back into the fight so you can just kill Cell with a Kamehameha. I feel like there might have been a quicker way to do this, but that's the last mission of the game. After you've cleared through the story, you unlock a few things. Most notably, you get the ability to play through the entire game saga Sagas again, but with all of your upgrades intact, alongside 5 new characters to play as, who are Yamcha, Tien, Krillin, Bardock, and Broly. Sadly, Broly is not an invincible killing machine that destroys everyone in one shot like he should be in this game. I mean, god damn it, game. Give me one fun thing to do, at least. I'm rather surprised, though, that each of these characters does have a unique big projectile attack. Krillin has Destructo Disc, and Tien has Tri-Beam, for instance. Yamcha sadly doesn't have Wolf Fang Fist, though. He just gets Kamehameha. I kind of thought they'd just cheap out and give them all the Kamehameha or something. You also don't get to play as any of the villains for some reason. Come on, guys, let me play as Cell, at least. But I think I can end this one now. Dragon Ball Z Sagas is a terrible game. Full stop. It's buggy, it plays like ass, every character is a carbon copy of one another, a majority of your upgrades are totally worthless, it's riddled with awful game design choices, and worst of all, it's just squandered potential. A free roaming Dragon Ball Z game that's basically a beat 'em up? It sounds awesome. Where did it all go wrong? Also, I think it's kind of strange they only bothered adding in one new scenario. Why not give us a quick Earthling saga where you get to play as Tien, Yamcha, and Krillin? Or why not add Bardock's saga where he fights against the Frieza Force? Or how about just a big-ass slugfest against Broly? You know what I honestly think, though? This game would have been so much better suited as a Dragon Ball game. A Kid Goku, inexperienced as he was back then, going against the Pilaf gang and their shenanigans, the Red Ribbon Army, martial arts tournament foes, and Demon King Piccolo with all of his minions. Learning the Kamehameha there would have made perfect sense. God fucking forbid, though, we make a Dragon Ball game instead of just starting at the Saiyan Saga like we always do. Thankfully, though, we would later get games like Xenoverse and Kakarot, which are basically what this game wanted to be gameplay-wise, but those are actually fun. Admittedly, I don't think Sagas is the worst Dragon Ball game. GT Final Bout still holds that title belt, but this one sits near the bottom of the barrel for sure. Anyway, though, I can now end this video. As always, viewers, my name is HadesManticore, and this here channel is CityStateManticore. Thank you very much for watching if you did. If you enjoyed, feel free to hit me with a like and drop a comment about your experience with this game below. Feel free to subscribe too, since as always, there's more content to come. See y'all in the next video. Goodbye.